I think it's taught. I think it's an indoctrination thing. So you guys are all taught religion. No one's born a Christian. No one's born believing in God. So there are about 72 uncontacted tribes on the planet. These are people still living in a stone age. They couldn't even fathom the steam engine, yet alone that we have the internet. And missionaries try to go to these places and teach these people religion, but they can't even comprehend it. Religion to them is something that they can't even understand because it's not a concept that they've ever conjured up before.
What's up, guys? It's the Eastside Podcast. It's your boy, me, Squeaks, E2. We have our guest here, Cedric Page. Today's topic's gonna be, some different, some light. We're gonna talk about atheism, and my boy here, Cedric. We're friends from college, and he is a known atheist, and so we're gonna see his thoughts and everything. So Cedric, you wanna introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Cedric Page, here in the United States of America. I'm an atheist. I like science and all of that, real shit.
All right. First, start off. I think it'll make sense to just say how you became an atheist, or like when did you first know that you would be interested in things like that?
Okay. I won't say that I was actually like interested in atheism. I don't think atheism is necessarily a choice. I feel like believing in a religion is actually a choice. So I feel like it kind of just happened to me as I got older. You know how Western civilization is. We're raised in the church normally. That's how I was growing up down south. I was raised in the church every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Thursday. We had Bible studies. We had, worship and things like that. I never really had a chance to question things for myself. My mom also raised me and my younger brother in science. She wanted us to have a better future than my older brother had. So around the time I turned like 11, I started to question different things that was conflicting what the Bible was telling me and what science was telling me. Didn't really think too much of it because once again, I was super young. So I just continued to study the Bible, continued to study science. I went so far actually to become a youth pastor. During my time in undergrad, I was a youth pastor. I was an atheist while I was a youth pastor. Not even gonna lie to you, it was probably one of the most fucked up things I've done. Being an atheist youth pastor. Yeah, it was bad, man. But I was that far into the lie. I was afraid of losing friends and family. My family is incredibly religious. I was kind of the first atheist or open atheist, I would say, to come out of my family, and it caused a lot of consternation, I would say. So I was rightfully so to be scared, but I would say that I finally came out as a public atheist, I guess, at the end of my freshman year of college, towards the beginning of my sophomore year. So that's kind of a little bit about my journey. It's a short story, at least.
Do you think that it would have made any difference if you came out sooner?
No.
What were some of the things that what are the things that you were questioning and what's not?
So one, as a scientist, right now, my entire life, my entire study is dependent upon the scientific method. I realize that now. I identify everything I do in science and mathematics and computer science with the scientific method. I've always known that was necessary in life. Even when I was growing up, before I even knew what the scientific method was, I knew that there was something out there that had to prove if things were true or not. It wasn't until I turned 16 or 17 that I learned really what the scientific method was and how powerful it was. And when I apply that to the laws of science, the laws of biology, the laws of physics, mathematics, chemistry, all of these things that we live our lives by, it always holds up. But you can't apply the scientific method to religion. No religion out there you can do that to. And that's a problem for me. that we have this widespread belief in a system that can't be proven. And I could no longer allow myself to kind of fall into that. So that was the number one reason of my disbelief becoming wholehearted.
Okay, so you two gonna ask something else?
No, makes sense.
If you don't believe, so what exactly do you believe that how we came to be?
Well, I mean, there are a number of theories. I would say most physicists today believe in what you guys would refer to as the Big Bang, as the simple terms of it. It's just that humans, the planets, the stars, nebulae, all of these things came into existence around 13.8 billion years ago. Well, not all of these things. The universe began 13.8 billion years ago with something that we would call a Big Bang, which is a singularity. A singularity is a point of infinite density. And basically, that just means that there was an infinitesimally small point in space that was filled with all these particles. And infinite density means there was no space in between the particles. And the more dense it became, the less stable it became. And so finally, it just kind of expanded. And that's what we have here today. There are multiple theories, but because of the way that the universe works right now, because of the expansion that we have witnessed, that's the prevailing theory in science, and that's kind of like where I put my cake as well, as with the Big Bang.
Okay. So you know the Bible.
Yeah, pretty well actually.
So why? What? Because it just wasn't proven. Like none of it was necessary. Because I feel like historians have found some comparative stuff between the Bible and past things. So what made it seem to you that all this don't make sense?
Well, so it's not. Are you finished? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So yes, there are some historical accuracies in the Bible. That's to be expected, honestly. I mean, it was written by man. Of course, they would include some reality in it. Even comic books today have reality in it. If you look back to comic books in the 60s, they had instances of racism and segregation and things like that. Because that was actually happening in those comic books, because it's actually, and it was actually happening in real life, those accuracies don't make that comic book true. It's not about the accuracies, it's about the inaccuracies. You would never believe that the X-Men exist, no matter what else is happening in that comic book world. Just like I couldn't believe that, there were, angels and demons and people and men healing blind people with their hands, no matter what else the Bible was saying. Accuracies wasn't enough for me. It was the supernatural part of the Bible that kind of turned me off to it. It was not sense making to me.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that because I feel like Christianity biggest thing is that it relies on faith. I feel like it wasn't enough for you to just be like have faith in that these things happen, and he just is that powerful, and so
that's a problem for me. People say Christianity has always been a religion of faith. I don't believe that, and the Bible doesn't support that. You look back to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These are all people who walked with Jesus, right? They witnessed everything that he did. They saw him do all of these miracles. They saw him perform these impossible acts. It would have taken no faith to believe that he was the Son of God. Why do we not see that here today? Why do we not have miracles happening today? Why are there are people who give God thanks when their mom is healed for cancer, but that same God who they think can't heal amputees if I get my arm cut off, God can't grow it back. Why are we not having these sort of miracles today? That's also another problem for me. Why did God just stop performing miracles? I don't understand that. So yes, it is a religion of faith now, but it wasn't always that way, and that's another problem for me because things have changed so drastically.
You too?
No, bro, I just trying to gather thoughts, bro, because that point right there, that got to me just now. I was like, that makes so much sense, bro. Like, that makes sense. Like legit.
It
But it's
does make
like
sense.
it's just that like I just grew up in the faith so much, and different people um look at religion different ways and what's not. Some people might be like, well, in your case, you was like, this just isn't enough for me, or it just doesn't make sense for me. For me, for some reason, I never looked at it from that point of view. Like, I just kept believing, and especially since growing up around my parents and what's not, like, they just, because how my parents used to do it, it never was like just the Bible this, or just, all this, follow it, that's it, like, flat out. So it comes to a point where I'd be like, I ask questions. It's always just like, believe in God, do right by people, and that's it. Even though we used to
Yeah.
go to church, but that was the main message that was given to me growing up. So, but the other things and like the Bible and what's not, mind you, I do believe in it, but I also do sometimes be like, that's crazy. Like that stuff, but that stuff doesn't happen now. Like, why doesn't it happen now? You know what I mean? So like, hearing your points and what's not, it like I definitely understand it to the fullest.
Like I understand his points and his point of views and where he's coming from, but then it's points where, like you say, it's households.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would be like, my parents grew up like his parents are super religious, and I'm pretty sure that was hard for him during that point in time. And so it's at a point where I was like, I still believe in him. I still think that there is a God, but you can't like straight up ignore facts and how life is nowadays. So at what point does it make you an atheist? I don't think you can be made an atheist, but it's like, where's the line between, where do you think the line is between believing in God and just wanting to follow God's rules?
I think it's taught. I think it's an indoctrination thing. So you guys are all taught religion. No one's born a Christian. No one's born believing in God. So there are about 72 uncontacted tribes on the planet. These are people still living in the Stone Age. They couldn't even fathom the steam engine, yet alone that we have the internet. And missionaries try to go to these places and teach these people religion, but they can't even comprehend it. Religion to them is something that they can't even understand because it's not a concept that they've ever conjured up. So I would definitely say believing in God is something that's taught.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have been born in the Middle East, you would probably be Islamic. You would be a Muslim. You would believe in Allah. If you guys have been born in India, you would believe in, I think, what is it, Buddha? You would be a Hindu. So it's all about what's taught to you, and what's taught to you is dependent upon your geographical area. I was born in the United States. Christianity is the prevailing religion in the United States. That's what I was brought up in. That's where I feel like the first issue needs to be addressed, is that people need to realize that they are taught this from a young age, and once they realize that, I think that they can really start to ask themselves why they believe. Once you get past that, I think you realize you're an atheist when you start doing things because you don't think this is what God would want you to do. Now, of course, there's a lot more to being an atheist than that, obviously. That's not the only thing. But once I started doing things, and I didn't think to myself, what does the Bible say about this? What would God want me to do? What would my youth pastor think? That was the first step for me in taking back what I call, I guess, my free will. I don't feel like I had free will at first, and I feel like after I kind of put down religion and stepped wholly into science, and not that everyone has stepped into science, not everyone's going to be a scientist, but that's when I really started to express who I was freely.
Oh, okay, so saying that you don't follow what would God say or what would your youth pastor say, what do you base your morals on?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I base my morals mostly on what is going to help mankind progress the most. That's why I decided to go into science. That's why I love math and all the other natural sciences, is because I know that studying those will allow me to do my part for the progression of our species. Anything that would hinder that or go against that would be against my morals. So anything that would hinder the progression of mankind, anything that would slow us down or stop us from reaching our full potential would be something that I would consider immoral. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what I base my moral code off of.
So even if it's at like expense of other people?
Yes.
Well, it'd be like that. So for as an example, like say you could let's use the train theory. If you could save, I feel like, does that apply?
So you're
if you
asking
could save like 5 people.
Go ahead. Sorry.
If you could save like 5 people with like this new, like say you could save like 5 million people with this new technology that you can make, but while you're making it with the industry, you're also hurting like a nearby town, you would still do it?
How many people are in the town?
less than the 5 million that you're saving?
Okay,
Like say 100,000.
Yes.
And you wouldn't think twice?
I would think twice, and then I will make my decision.
I'm just trying to see what has been like a decision you have to made recently that has like wavered you or made you be like, I don't know if I should make this type of decision or not?
There's a lot. I guess that's a pretty personal question. Let me try to think of one. So let me try to think, because that's a really good question also. Everyone questions decisions that we make. I also want to try to give you an example of one that I've had to make that wasn't entirely personal. So I was offered this internship, and you may have saw my Snapchat about it. I was offered this internship last week. There was already someone offered this internship. However, they read my thesis and decided to offer it to me over them, even after telling that person that they were already accepted. I knew that if I gave them an answer quickly, and that answer was no, then they could re-offer it to that person, and that person will be able to accept it, and things would go on as well. However, I also knew that if I waited, waited my decisions and gave it actual serious thought, but the time would keep ticking, and the closer it got to the deadline, the less likely it would be that they would be able to offer that person the internship again. However, I decided to bet on myself, and instead of making a decision out of impulse that would definitely help someone else, I weighted my decisions. I thought about it. I gave it a lot of contemplation, and I still am. And because of that, that person who had the internship offer before me will most likely not get a chance to do it now. So that was a time where I weighted someone else's benefits against my own and chose myself, and I feel no regret about it, nothing at all.
All right, something a little less lighthearted. Have you ever had like, oh, Ito, you're gonna ask something?
No, let's get lighthearted. I think mine was a
heavy,
a little dark.
I
like dark, man. I like it.
I had a feeling you said it. Let me ask a question anyway. So, basically how wrong and right in life. So it seems like it's based off religion, I guess. So like, you know, like the commandments, stuff like that. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, things like that. So people in life will be like, shouldn't do this, should not do that. You are an atheist. Do you think? Okay, hold on. First, I need to ask the question of what's an atheist. An atheist is someone who doesn't believe in religion,
Um, yes, or any type of supernatural deity, gods or goddesses.
right? Okay, just to make sure. If there's no God, do you think that these things should be legal?
No, not at all.
Not at all, right?
Not at all.
Why?
So there's something called the social contract theory. It's a theory going back earlier in the millennia. It's basically, so first, you've heard of Hammurabi's Code, right?
Cedric, we're not dweebs, bro. We're not dweebs.
So Hammurabi's Code is something that predates your religion. It predates Christianity, and it's basically this ruler who wanted to establish law. So he came out with his own code, and it's basically an eye for an eye, an ear for an ear. It's if you do something to someone else, we're going to do the exact same thing to you. We evolved upon that, so we're not just murdering people now that murders people, which I think we should, but we're not doing that. But we evolved upon that, we expanded upon it, and now we have the social contract theory. And that's what our laws are based off of today. It's basically a theory that says that there has to be a contract between men that says that I won't harm you or hurt you in any way because that's not good for our progression. And that's enough, if you ask me. I mean, if we all just go around killing people and murdering each other, society's not going to do very well. We're not going to progress. No one's going to benefit. No one's going to prosper. Without even mentioning a God, everyone, as a human, as an animal, is hardwired for their own survival, hardwired to pass on their genes and to do whatever it's going to take to accomplish their biological imperative. Agreeing to that social contract theory was the best possible way to adhere to that side of ourselves that has to follow our natural instincts. So I don't think that God necessarily is the reason that everything hasn't fallen into anarchy. Don't get me wrong. I do commend religion. Religion is the reason we have, a lot of the peace that we have today. I would think there are a lot of terrible people out there that if the Bible didn't say to do something or not to do something, then they would go out and they would fucking do it, and the world would be a terrible place. There are probably rapists who aren't out there raping, or murderers who aren't out there murdering just because they're afraid of going to hell. So if the threat of hell, if the fear of hell is going to keep people from doing shitty things, then I'm all for it. I'm 100% for religion playing a role in people's moral decisions.
Okay. So I feel like we ask this. So do you think religion is like a good thing in itself, but it should be like a choice to believe in?
Yeah. Yes. I would never take someone's freedom away of choosing their own religion. Yes, I think that it should always be a choice. Yes, 100%.
All right. Some less serious. Do you have you ever like lost like a friend or like some bitches over being atheist?
Yes.
Man.
Yes. In fact, the very first woman I guess fell in love with, you know her, you met her a couple times.
Yeah.
I lost her because of my lack of belief in a God. And it was fine. Like it's fine now. Then it sucked. But there was never. No, that's a lie. There was a point where I considered faking it just for her. I mean, she was gorgeous. She was super smart. Like she was a perfect woman. I would have wanted to reproduce with her. But it wasn't worth pretending to be someone that I wasn't. So I had to let her go and in doing so, that solidified who I was and my new
Yeah.
age.
I feel like I know the answer, but I gotta ask it. Was there any point that you were like, maybe I was wrong and religion is right? Or do you see yourself having?
Well, I'm not 100% certain about anything. I know a lot. Well, comparatively speaking to other people, I would say I know a lot. I'm a pretty smart guy. I have different degrees of certainty about different things, and there are some things that I know absolutely nothing about. So, with that being said, it would be very arrogant of me to say I know for a fact there is no God, or I know for a fact religion is not true. That's not science. Like we don't do that. I can only say this is what the evidence tells me. This is how I interpret it, and that's where I get my lack of belief from.
You have any questions, Cedric?
Yeah. So,
Oh Lord.
one of you guys can answer. So, what do you guys think about the Bible? Like, do you believe it wholeheartedly? Do you believe it to be like infallible and 100% true, or do you think it's a book full of parables that's open for interpretation?
That is how I look at it. Like a lot of things, I see it as like a learning experience, or like either look at it like metaphorically, and what's not. For the most part, looking at it literally. Some things no, and then some things metaphorically. That's how I look at it.
I feel like you can't take everything literal that is man-made. I just, like, a part of me is like, I can't believe this 100% because he didn't make it himself. It'll always be known as a man made it, and so a man can put whatever he wants into that, and that's a big hole inside of Christianity. And people be like, well, we still have to follow it, and it's still our laws. But I take it as, like you say, some parables, and I feel like things inside of it help us progress, and it helps us become human. But to say taking it for word, tick for tat, straight through, I can't. I don't think I could do that.
Okay, so if you're not taking it literally, that means that anything in the Bible could be an expression of imagination, basically. So this is what I want to ask. Just like parents telling their kids before they go to bed that if they don't behave, the boogeyman's going to come get them. Just like parents telling their kids that if they don't behave, Santa Claus isn't going to get them anything for Christmas. How do you know that the Bible isn't just a boogeyman tale trying to convince humans that if they don't behave, the supernatural deity in the sky is going to send them to hell?
Squeaky, you got this question.
You so right. Like, you ain't wrong. Like, it's a big possibility, and I think that's where the faith part comes in, as into we have to believe this part because it's based on the whole thing. Like, that whole thing is about heaven and hell and God. So that's the afterlife. And I feel like,
you don't live any other part of your life outside of your religion on complete faith alone. Before you get on an airplane to go to the Bahamas, you don't have a doubt that airplane is going to make it there. And if you do, it's minuscule, because you know that you have a safer chance of getting there than you do walking or driving or going on a boat, because flying is the safest way to travel. You can verify that. You don't have to have faith. When you put your food in the microwave, you know how a microwave works because you can look it up, and you know it's worked 1,000 times before. So you don't have to have faith that it's going to work. When you open the refrigerator to pull milk out, you know the milk's going to be cold because you've opened it 1,000 times before and it was cold. So you didn't have to have faith that it would be cold at that time that you were going to pull it out. Why would you exercise faith on what I would call the single biggest thing in your life if you're not going to exercise it for anything else, or if you don't need to exercise? If you rely on data for everything else, why not do that for your religion?
Because for something that we deal with, it's things that are in our day to day, something that we see every day. And if you see something every day and keep seeing it, you're like, okay, you're like more certain that it's gonna happen. You can't ask a dead man what happens after we die. You just can't.
According to your religion, you can.
Well,
But at the same time,
right now,
how many people in the Bible died and came back to life? Was it 2 or 3, 4 maybe? How many people in the Bible went to heaven without even having to die? So death is not a certainty when it comes to your religion, not at all.
like I said, I don't believe everything that's in the Bible per se. I think that some can be metaphorically right and some can be literally right. So I can't say that everything that they say I agree with. But I'm just saying I'm just saying from my personal belief that like I can't ask my grandmother, is there heaven and hell? That's something that I just have to believe in.
That doesn't bother you.
It does sometimes, because it's like, damn, I wish what am I doing if I'm doing all of this and there's just nothing? Like that bothers me. It wonders my mind. I've been having questions like that since I was like 13. It's only normal to have questions like that. I feel those that like fully believe that there is one and that's just it. They like reject science, like you say. I just can't reject science and life and things that happened before me. So I'm not like 100% saying that, oh, that's gonna happen, that there's a heaven and hell. I believe it. That's my choice in it. But do I know that it's gonna happen? No. Am I comfortable with it for right now? Yeah.
Okay. I can't. As long as you're comfortable with something, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Do you believe in aliens, Mr. Page?
I believe in the statistical possibility of there being life on other planets. Yes, it's almost a certainty, I would say.
Why? So if you how big do you think the space is then, like the universe? Infinite?
There are about 8 times 10 to the 63rd power of stars in the universe. And for every one of those stars, there's a couple of planets. So, you tell me, what's the chance of being life somewhere else?
Mr. Page, what type of scientist are you? Pardon?
Computer scientist. I write code. I'm a mathematician.
Pretty goddamn good scientist. That's all I'm hearing right now. Come on, said to the 3rd power,
8 times 10 to the 63rd. That's about the amount of grains of sand. Actually, it's more than the amount of grains of sand on our planet.
Oh.
Well then. Yeah, yeah. Well, I won't say there has to be, but there's a very high possibility. Jarvis, shut the fuck up, Jarvis.
Do you believe in aliens, Mr. Higgs?
Yes.
100%. You believe in aliens?
Hello. See, okay. This might just go with me as a person. Sometimes I just feel like things don't be happening on Earth like that. And if some aliens come down right now, I wouldn't be mad. That'd be kind of exciting. Like,
I don't know what you mean, but could you elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean?
Like, if some aliens was to come out the sky right now, I'd be like, today kind of a good day, This is a good day. Cause like things just happening. Things just happening. You
You
know?
want me to explain? You want me to explain? And he's trying to say is that a lot of stuff happened on Earth already that we find to be true. So why not aliens?
Well, there are a lot of things that happens on Earth, and there are a lot of why not anything else's? Why not tachyons? Why not leprechauns? Why not unicorns? Why not dragons? But aliens are interesting. It's an interesting topic. If aliens came to our planet, and theoretically, obviously, and they had never heard of God or Jesus or anything like that, would that change your mind? Would you realize that this is a man-made religion? This is a man-made, God is a man-made creation?
Not at all. Not at all.
Why? Why not?
Because to me, right, to be honest, it's like they're just aliens. I was like I don't relate it back to I know I given some real vague answers. Cause like sometimes I have like a real vague view of everything.
One second. What you just said was they're just aliens. So I'm gonna say that if an intelligent species could figure out how to travel interstellarly to our planet, they would not be just anything. They would be considerably smarter than we were. They would be.
I also do think they're on the planet Earth already.
You think aliens are already on the planet?
Yeah, and like the fact that they didn't do anything yet tells me that they're very soft, honestly. So it's like, yeah. That means y'all soft. Or y'all even might believe in God too. Plot twist.
So it's possible that aliens are already on the planet. I don't know if it's probable. I don't really know the math. I don't think the Drake equation really tackles if aliens are already here. So I don't know the math behind it. It's definitely possible, but you're telling me that if aliens reveal themselves tomorrow, and they had never, I'm talking super intelligent aliens who figure out how to, construct technology that could get them thousands of light years across open space. They told you that gods and goddesses and religions that man had created were just that, only creations. You would just be like, nah, bro, we good.
Yes.
Maybe they just haven't heard of it. Maybe they just don't know what God is. Like the 72 untouched people.
Hold on, let me show y'all something real quick. Show y'all this little thing. Watch this. Watch this real quick. Watch this. Look at this. Hey, you see that?
Yes.
And it's so fast, bro. Declassified. Is the truth finally out here? All right, so yeah, aliens. Squeak, you got any more questions? So right, that's like my take from the east side. Like so basically Squeaky was like the serious person. I'm like the comedic person on the east side. So
so yeah, I think that was a good talk. I feel we had a good talk. Got to know your views and how Do you think most atheists like think the way you do, or do you think that it's just you? Is it you?
So I created a student organization.
Yeah.
On my campus.
They're still there.
Oh yeah, no, they're gonna be there forever. And let me just say the ideals I had behind that organization are no longer the ideals they are abiding by. I kind of conflict ideally with every single person in that organization. I don't agree with anything that, they don't agree with anything that I say. So I would say no, most atheists don't think like me. There are atheists who are nihilists, who don't think anything matters. There are vegan atheists who are like animal lives are the only thing that matters. We're destroying our fucking planet, blah, blah, blah. And then, every atheist is different, kind of like every Christian. You know how Christianity has like all these different sects? There's like Protestant and Presbyterian and Orthodox and all that weird shit. That's kind of how atheism is, I guess. We don't prescribe to any objective belief system. We're all just kind of different and doing things our own way.
All right. Well, thank you, Cedric. This has been an interesting podcast.
Man, well, thanks for having me. I wish your boys had been here. But
yes.
They weren't. And I look forward to seeing this on the internet.
Yeah, this has been good. I feel like people that don't know about this type of stuff, they learned something today. I think they learned something. So this has been another episode. All right, cool. Let's go.
All right, it's been real good.
Thank you, Mr. Page, being here.
Yeah. Only talking money moves, only focus on the bag. Talking money moves, only focus on the cash. Dog from the 242, I'ma represent my set.